Hi, everybody. I'm Candid Frank Stanisci of Candid Frank Live. Welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV Channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. Now on Candid Frank Live, joining me is Aaron William of Freeland. The whole reason why this show is Aaron Week, or every day, every other day, right? Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Let's see, is my little my little thing is wrong? Is it wrong? No, it's good.
No, it's showing the right way, Frank.
Is it all right? Because well, looking good. Let's not go for that because I'll never achieve that. I want to try and do that. That'll never happen. That's just impossible. All right. So we tried to do their show on Friday as usual, and technology is what technology is, and when you have a guy like me responsible for technology, it's best to stay home.
Yeah, an attempt was made to try to do a live remote from the tailgate for the Argonauts game yesterday, but unfortunately, technology was not in our favor. Also, spotty Wi-Fi coverage, so it is what it is.
Yeah, and you know what? It's great to be with the people, right? But being with the people and doing the show are two different things, and it's difficult to do both at the same time. We tried, it didn't work. That's okay. So right now, I don't know where it's at. I don't have my TV going, so I can't do that. Are you aware of where they're at as far as the match that we all care about, the Leila Fernandez match?
I was waiting for you to ask about that. Actually, as it currently stands, it's currently 1-0 for Raducanu. She won the first set 6-4 and is currently leading the second set 5-3.
So yeah. By the time this show's over, so might the event.
Well, Leila is definitely in tough. It's not unwinnable by any stretch. She is only currently down 5-3, so it is possible for her to come back at this point. It's going to be an uphill battle for sure, but it's not out of reach.
Labor Day just went by. Canada Day went by. This whole program, because of Leila, and not just because of Leila, but we've got Team Canada's men's soccer team beat Salvador 3-0. Now, Salvador isn't that strong a team on the road, but they had some supporters because there are a lot of Salvadorians in Toronto and in the Southern Ontario area, probably even further away. They came to the game as soon as tickets became available. But they don't play that well on the road. But the thing usually is, if we can talk about Team Canada and the fact that they've had difficulty beating countries that are A, less populated, B, less, less savvy sports-wise, generally speaking. Canada's pretty good at a lot of sports, right?
Well, this is also more high stakes because these are the qualifying rounds for the World Cup for next year. So, there's the additional pressure of that on Team Canada to do well. In addition, as you did mention, Frank, they do actually tend to, like other Toronto sports teams, I hate to draw a comparison, tend to play down, unfortunately, to the level of their competition.
Absolutely.
But the fact that they got on the board with a marker at the 5-minute mark and again at the 11-minute mark against Salvador was absolutely fantastic.
Canada has always had a team that was the muckers and what I'm talking about, muckers and rakers, right? They have plenty of muckers and rakers. But what they haven't had and don't have, and historically scoring goals for Canada is difficult. That's why that's one of the reasons why that 3-0 victory is so meaningful. But what's even more meaningful is Canada has in Jonathan Davies a legitimate international star, right? And his stardom is one that we rely on now with Team Canada. And we have some other players that proved he's not the only star. Jonathan David was given an opportunity to show what he can do. Aaron, and he did it.
No, he certainly did come up big for them. Not to mention Tyon Buchanan's second half goal to put Canada up 3-0. I think Canada is slowly revealing themselves to have some genuine scoring threats and some genuine international presence, which is really good to see. Now, this 3-0 win comes on the heels of a couple draws against two of the historical heavyweights in the region. One was Honduras at home and against the United States on the road. That puts Canada in a three-way tie currently for second place behind Mexico in CONCACAF qualifying for the 2022 World Cup. Now, this is known as the Octagon, and it's a 14-match marathon that runs until next March, with all 8 teams facing each other home and away. The top 3 nations at the end of the group stage, this Octagon here, are going to qualify automatically for Qatar. The 4th place team still has a chance to advance via a 2-game playoff against the top team from another qualifying region. So the goal here would be to make sure that Canada is in the top 3 so they don't have to play additional games leading into the World Cup.
Like, it'll be like sudden death.
Exactly.
And that is something they don't want to do. So Canada does now what it couldn't do for years: score. Playing for a draw because you can't score ultimately isn't, eventually you have to win. So you have to score. So now we know that they can score. And that's part of the reason why we're excited about today's program, because Canadian athletes and Canadian teams have done things that, are new, fresh. When we talk about Leylah Fernandez, we're still in the hangover with who winning the U.S. Open, right?
Yeah.
So it's obvious that we're on a bit of a high. Starting a few years ago, just a few scant years ago, Toronto won the NBA title. Now, that's a title that before it happened, some people might have thought that would happen after the Leafs win a cup. But the opposite happened. You get what I'm saying?
Yep. And I'm you know what, honestly, it's been a bit of a hard road for them since that win. But obviously it's the ups and downs that come with the territory. You can't win all the time, but now the goal is to get back to that.
Absolutely. So Team Canada in women's soccer. Now, our women have done great work. They were fantastic in the Olympics. The team sports, the women are doing great. Hockey, right? Beat the Americans. That's a pretty good deal.
For the first time in a long time. A long, long time. It's been a bit of a drought.
And that drought ended. And the same thing is true with Team Canada's soccer team, women's soccer team. They did some great things. So we're on a pretty good, I guess, if I want to be fair about it, there is a good news, bad news kind of thing. Where we used to rule in things like curling, we've had a little bit of trouble the past year in curling, right? We haven't won championships at the regular pace that we did before, right? So it's good news, bad news type of thing. But we still have the great curling players. So that sport, I think, we still are one of the dominant countries in that sport.
No, it is true. Canada has traditionally done well in that sport. So actually, what I've also taken a great deal of heart in is the mixed doubles that they're putting together now. That has been something that's been really gratifying to see.
Yeah, our men have played well for a very long time, as have the women. Curling has been a sport for both sexes for a very long time, longer than most. Not quite as long as tennis, but in that ballpark. So I did these in alphabetical order. So very quickly, let's check in with how Canadians are doing in sports. Let's start with baseball. A lot of people know who Ferguson Jenkins is, Larry Walker, that kind of history. Now, Aaron, we've got more players in Major League Baseball. You've got Freddie Freeman, who's a first baseman with Atlanta, Joey Votto, who's won MVP honors, James Paxton, Mike Soroka, John Axford, Tyler O'Neill, Nick Pivetta, Vladimir Guerrero, born in Montreal, doesn't speak English or French, but he is on the Toronto Blue Jays. Baseball's been very good to Canada, hasn't it?
Baseball has been absolutely fantastic. And I mean, the fact that there are still so many players out there that are still active and making a name for themselves and making a little bit of noise is absolutely fantastic. I am also looking forward to seeing more from Zach Pop. He's currently pitching with the Miami Marlins, so we'll look for great things from him. He's a Brampton boy. Jordan Romano, of course, has been doing well for the Jays and has been with them for a couple of years now. So we'll have to see. But yeah, on the whole, everything's trending upwards for Canada, and
we're doing well in baseball. Even the Blue Jays. If we had done the show yesterday, we would have been able to brag on them a little harder than we are today. They lost to Baltimore last night. They win the games they shouldn't. They lose the games anyway.
There was an interesting exchange as well between the Baltimore bench boss.
Did you see that? The manager swearing. It went on for a good 5 minutes.
Well, and the funny thing is, it's almost like he didn't think anybody could hear him.
I don't know where, it's amazing you get in that, intimidation mode, because that's what he was trying to do. Because somebody who's not playing, doing that kind of stuff, that's heckling. Heckling is what people who have no talent do to people who are trying to display their talent on a stage. Fair?
Well, yeah, definitely. And I mean, the fact that he's managing Baltimore to a 46-94 record so far is kind of indicative of how their season is going.
Yeah, poor judgment on his part probably didn't begin and end with yesterday.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, Baltimore does currently also have the lead in the bottom of the fourth inning, 8-5 over the Jays. So this has turned into a bit of a slugfest.
A giveaway.
Wow.
They just do not. They just do not do well against the teams that aren't that good. So baseball, we're in good shape. Canada, congratulations. Awesome. It's fantastic. Canada is doing well in baseball and has been doing well for a while. A sport that they've improved on extremely well is basketball. We all know who Steve Nash is. He's basically, the poster guy for basketball in Canada. He was the coach of our men's national team. Great player. We saw him in Layla's box, and apparently he was used to offer Layla motivation by her father. So, this guy is well respected. And then you end up with the NBA. There was a game, I guess it was this year, or was it? It might have been. Yeah, maybe it was this year. Yeah, when Montreal had three players on the floor at the same time. Was it 3 or 4 at the same time? 3, I think. One Raptor and 2. Oh goodness, now I forgot the name of the team that they were playing for, but it was fantastic. They had, to use your word, sorry, just borrowing it for a sec. There were 3 Montrealers, and Canadians are doing really well in basketball. First of all, would you like to comment on the Montreal thing?
No, I honestly think that there are some cities that are actually turning into almost basketball factories. A lot of Canadian players do seem to be coming from Quebec and from the East Coast, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Some of them, of course, have made their way to the Raptors 905, playing in the NBA's G League, which is heartening as well, because that's a feeder league directly into the NBA from there. I don't know if you caught this article also, but Glenn Grunwald is actually retiring as the CEO of Canada Basketball and handing the reins to Michael Bartlett. As far as I'm aware, that is a good transition. Now, Grunwald isn't leaving. He's going to stay with Canada Basketball as an executive advisor for basketball operations. And what is interesting is when they were cleaning out the Basketball Canada offices back at the start of the pandemic, they actually unearthed plans for a national basketball training center, which date back to the 1980s. So I think he's going to be sticking around to try to help get that rolling. So that's absolutely fantastic for Canada Basketball as well.
Let's be clear. There was a time when Canadian politicians wanted to stay away from supporting sports. There was an about face done, a few years ago. Remember with the Olympics, take the podium? They had that master plan on how to enhance the ability and, the amount of medals that Canada could win, and they supported sports teams and individuals much more, and there was a lot of success because of that. So this thing that you're talking about, when it comes to the national teams, there's a lot that they've been doing. They haven't gone out of the way to spend a ton of money, but they've sort of worked with the professional teams. For example, with BMO and TFC. And then in Edmonton, they're figuring out a way to make it cost effective, but very, very good as far as making, a platform and a place for players to excel. So excellence is something that not only money can buy, it's also the training facilities, right, Aaron?
Exactly. And for a lot of places, you're going to find obviously hockey is going to outweigh basketball training facilities 4, 5, 6 to 1. So the fact that the Raptors now are putting more energy into courses, not to mention Canadian Tire programs to help get more basketball training facilities out there as well, is huge for development in Canada.
And let's remember, it is a sport unlike hockey and very like soccer, where the equipment to play the game for an individual, a parent, a family, is not as cost
prohibitive,
costly, right? So, in all honesty, I love hockey. We both love hockey, guys. We both love hockey, but the fact is, you got to have a little coin to support a child playing hockey. I mean, a pair of shorts and a ball. That's all you need with soccer and basketball for the most part. Outdoor courts, outdoor soccer fields. It's, let's give a salute to a few of the players out there. Oh, and we can't forget women's basketball. Some of the players that play in the NBA, some shout out here, folks. Bridget Carlton, Kayla Alexander, Nayo Raincock Ikunwe, Natalie Achono, and of course Kia Nurse. Any other women that I missed?
You know what? Let's stick with that group for now. I think they've actually represented Canada fantastically on the international stage, especially in the WNBA. So that's it. I mean, it's definitely something heartening to see.
Let's give a shout out to the guys. Jamal Murray, who was incredible this season. Shai Julius Alexander, Tristan Thompson, amazing player in the playoffs. Nikhil Alexander Walker, Andre Wiggins, RJ Barrett, Chris Boucher, Lugens Dort from Montreal, Kelly Olnick. These are all players that are in the NBA, and they are in to stay. These are not perimeter players. So the NBA keeps growing. There's like you said, the G League, the 905. The Canadian Elite Basketball League has come to being, and it is an incredible league that spans the country. So basketball's in great shape. Let's talk about football. In the past, these are some of the names that we all know: Russ Jackson, George Reed, Warren Moon, Jackie Parker, Garner Henley. You got any you want to throw out there? Doug Flutie?
Sorry, I just
American. I'm just going with Canadians.
I know, I'm thinking of the guy who's currently a doctor in Quebec, Laurent Duvernay-Tardif.
Yes, absolutely. He's the NFL version. I got in here too.
Anthony Auclair, who won a Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Bucks last season and is currently with the Houston Texans. That's another name that's
Jubba Hubbard, Chase Claypool, Javon Holland,
J.J. Molson,
Neville Gallimore, and these are all great NFL players, and many of the Canadian players are not just offensive linemen. That is what we knew us to be, but the biggest thing I can say about the Canadian Football League is last year the Grey Cup was won by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and the most valuable player was Andrew Harris, who also happened to be the most valuable Canadian, and that is a feat in itself. So Canadians are not just playing football, they're dominating,
and it's great to see. This is, again, to overuse my favorite word, fantastic.
We're going to have that emblazoned on your forehead or behind you in that green
right
screen. Yes,
just
yes.
fantastic.
In the past, when we talk about golf, Mike Weir won the U.S. Open. Sandra Post, one of the greatest golfers of all time, happens to be a Canadian as well. In the present, the biggest name I think I could come up with is Brooke Henderson, Mackenzie Hughes, Corey Connors, Adam Hadwin, two men that are doing fantastic. To use your term, I got to find a different word because I got to let you have that word. Otherwise, we're going to have to start paying. Never mind. Yeah, so golf in Canada, it is improving, and we're getting players that are there. We've had some players that are playing on the final day, right, in the final group. It's getting to be kind of normal that Canadians are having their moment more often than not, at least on the last day in golf.
Yeah, and players like Graham DeLate, players like Laurie
Yes.
Kane really helped pave the way for the women's game, and that's absolutely fantastic.
Absolutely.
Especially guys like George Knudsen from Winnipeg was also a huge pioneer in the game.
Yep.
So these people are, do you remember if Dave Barr is still playing on the PGA Senior Tour?
No, I don't think. On the senior tour, he might be.
I think so, because he's only 60. So
Right.
I don't think he's retired yet. Him and Donko Jones, I think, would make a fantastic pairing.
Absolutely.
But the fact that Canada is rising to prominence in more sports these days just goes to show how diverse our sporting interests actually are.
Absolutely.
It's just I'm glad it's finally being recognized and more Canadians are pushing the limits.
Now I'm doing the sports in alphabetical order. Gymnastics. This one here, there was such a great list of gymnasts in Canada that have done so well. Right now, Ellie Black is carrying the banner for Canadians. Gymnastics has been on a tough spell, mainly because it's a sport that depends, gymnastics in particular, on very young people whose bodies aren't ready to do what has to happen. Now this is not me saying that, oh, get rid of gymnastics. No, that's not what I'm saying. I think gymnastics is awesome, but there are challenges, just like with football, we worry about concussions. Hockey, we worry about concussions. There are some physical sacrifices that need to be made for sport, and we need to mitigate those sacrifices. So, a lot going on in gymnastics. They're in a little bit of a dry spell in Canada. Hopefully they'll pick things up again. This would have been a good segue when you said, we're expanding our horizons. Hockey. In the past, names like Angela James. I've had the pleasure of calling a few seasons of her games in college hockey. Haley Wickenheiser. Marie-Philippe Poulin-Nadeau, the captain of the team that scored the winning goal. Women's hockey. Finally, they have a league, a league that seems to be growing rather than withering.
Now, I find it interesting that the National Women's Hockey League recently rebranded.
Yes.
They are now known as the Premier Hockey Federation. They have decided to, in one of their videos, they said, well, we don't believe that we should be separating and differentiating ourselves from the men anymore by calling ourselves women. So we're taking that out.
That's fine.
So
that's fine. That's good for them to do that. But they also have to accept the fact that they need people to know where they are and who they are. They have there's a different challenge for women. They don't get paid at the same rate that, that the men do. They don't have a league that has a long history and a TV deal like the men's hockey does. So, there are challenges that they have that they need to realistically deal with. So, it's time for people to appreciate, and I do, because I've watched what they've been doing, watched their games pretty passionately. And I can tell you we talked about this on the show, on a week-to-week basis, the game is improving. Women are playing hockey better and better and better because now they're getting the chance to play more and more and more. I mean, elite hockey, not just playing hockey, because that's not good enough for what Canadian women can do, and the proof is in the pudding. I think the captain got a goal in overtime that led to some sort of championship.
Something like that. Not to mention Blair Turnbull's antics jumping into the
Yes,
pile.
yes.
That was hilarious and both yike at the same time.
Absolutely. In the men's department, names like Gordie Howe, Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, Guy Lafleur, who used to smoke a cigarette or two between periods, if you can believe that. Of course, Lyle Conacher. So, there's a deep history in hockey, and we've talked a little bit about the new players. And as far as hockey's concerned, our 7 Canadian cities, still have not done well in as far as winning the cup is concerned. But great Canadian players playing in the National Hockey. And I'll leave you to add a few: Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, Cale Makar, Brad Marchand, Sidney Crosby. You got a couple?
All of the usual suspects, of course.
Absolutely.
I'm actually very excited about Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby teaming up for the Olympics next year. That's going to be absolutely fantastic to see. We're also hoping, of course, that Darnell Nurse will make it as well to round everything out. God, Kia, Sarah, Darnell, all
Yes,
it's like the Nurse
keep it in the
family is
family.
becoming the first family of Canadian sports.
Well, we've got also a defenseman and a swimmer in the Olympics.
Jamie and Penny, yes.
Yes, we've got another family there. So a lot of people keeping it family. Let's talk about the great women that are out there now. I mentioned Marie-Philippe Poulin, Jill Saulnier, Blair Turnbull, as you said, Natalie Spooner. These are all great players making our game proud. Lacrosse, we cover that all the time, 100% with Gary Grube. So anybody who follows this channel, this show and shows that we do knows how much we love and appreciate lacrosse. Names like John Tavares, Wayne Gretzky. That's right, I said Wayne Gretzky. Doug
Not to
Favell.
mention Adam Foote.
Adam Foote, yeah, absolutely, and of course the National Lacrosse League is expanding repeatedly, often. The Arena Lacrosse League, it has now gone from just an East League to an East-West League, and that's off season with the National Lacrosse League. This is going to be a feeder league for the National Lacrosse League. So, Aaron, for those of us that love the game of lacrosse, it's moving, and by the way, why am I mentioning this? Because it's Canada's game, Canada's summer game.
Exactly. And I mean, not only are there teams in Oshawa, Paris, Peterborough, Six Nations, St. Kitts, Toronto, and Whitby, they are going to be expanding, as you mentioned. We will finally have a full East-West League again. I'm actually hoping that the ALL will actually provide a little bit of competition for the WLA and for Major Series Lacrosse here in Ontario, just as an alternative product as well. So we'll have to see how that goes. I know that Steve Toll is going to be joining Panther City Lax as an assistant coach, which is awesome. He'll be moving on from where he was coaching. With the Arena Lacrosse League. And of course, as you mentioned, the Langley Event Center is now going to host 4 teams for the ALL West. So that is going to be huge.
It's great for the players that they won't have to come east if they want to play some competitive lacrosse. Motorsport, you're a big fan of motorsport. The name Jacques Villeneuve comes to mind. His passing was a tragedy that we all felt deeply. He was a guy that he really brought motorsport to Canada. And in his case, we're talking Formula One.
It's thanks to powerhouses like him, not to mention Ron Fellows, who has been huge for that sort of thing. There is also a new Canadian. Is also a new Canadian who's currently racing in F1 with Aston Martin and Cognizant. That's Lawrence Strolovich, better known as Lance Stroll. He's a bit of an up and comer. He is a Canadian-Belgian racing driver, but for all intents and purposes, because he was born in Montreal, Quebec, we are going to classify him as Canadian for the purposes of this show. Also, it's really good to see that racing has been expanding in Canada in general. There are smaller tracks that have been opening up all over the place. I know that a lot of people, it's not what a lot of people expect. It's not the big crowds. It's more private and club tracks, but it's still a thriving scene. So it's good to see.
Just imagine, I was interviewing Ron when he was racing 25 years ago.
That would have been something. I've always, you know what? I actually had a chance to meet Major General Lewis Mackenzie, retired, because he, at the age of 70 something, is now racing Mazda Miatas. So that's, that's the
NASCAR.
thing.
NASCAR has a Canadian Dalton Kellett, Formula One Lance Stroll, Nicholas Latifi, up and comers. Hopefully, they'll have some wins and they'll bring some notoriety to motorsport, both in Formula One and NASCAR. The Olympics. We can throw a bunch of names out. For me, the key here is corporately and the government, as far as support for our athletes, has improved so much, and that, I think, is the key factor. It's not about being charitable to athletes. It's about being supportive of how they represent us. They're not the army going to protect us and defend us in other countries, but what they are doing is helping us to feel proud and to, compete with other countries in a way that is productive, as opposed to some other ways you can compete with other countries. And so I understand, that wonderful phrase, bread, not circuses. I understand it, and I can get behind it to a degree. But I do think that there is something to be said for sports and how it drives and lifts people and communities.
No, and you know what? Honestly, this focus has brought a whole bunch of new Canadian heroes to the forefront, including, believe it or not, Evan Dunphy, who made history at Tokyo, where he won bronze in the 50K race for Canada's first ever medal there. Unfortunately, I think it's also the last time that that's going to be presented. So he'll be the one and only Canadian medal winner for the 50K race walk.
Right.
And it's fantastic to see.
Andre DeGrasse.
Yes,
triple
had
medalist.
Great success. So he's actually managed to medal in every single Olympic event that he's raced in. So that's wonderful for Canada as well.
Figure skating, Barbara Ann Scott, Kurt Browning, Elvis Stoico, we've seen some wonderful pairs. Right now, they're in between. And it is because the Olympics aren't happening, that without the Olympics, the other events that lead to the Olympics, have been struggling till now, right? Because the Olympics happened almost, I'm going to say this in as nice a way as possible. I don't mean to be mean, but it happened with spite. Like it had to happen. If it didn't happen in Tokyo under the terms that it happened, it wasn't going to happen. It was going to be deleted because there's no room for it after this window. This was the final opportunity to have the Olympics. So a lot of different sports have suffered mightily because of the lack of security in knowing that the events were going to take place, because it's a big commitment, isn't it?
It is. It's a massive commitment for 15 to 20 minutes of your life every 4 years.
Absolutely.
It's something that these athletes totally dedicate themselves to, and it's an extreme amount of dedication.
Katrina LeMay Doan, Gaetan Boucher, Silken Laumann, Nancy Green-Rain, Victor Davis, Penny Oleksiak,
Barbara Ann Scott, Barbara Underhill. I used to figure skate with Brian Orser, believe it or not.
Nice.
Way back in the day. He used to actually run figure skating camps in Thornhill at a Bishop's Cross Arena. So that was always fun to see. Not to mention Debbie Soleil and David Peltier.
You were missing, we're missing people. So we apologize. This isn't our list of favorite Olympians. This is just people we're mentioning because we just want to mention somebody. That's the honest truth. Now with the Paralympics, I want to save a person for the end, and you'll understand why. But I'll mention Rick Hansen at this point. Man known for the Man in Motion, and he was all part of the raising the profile of people who are physically challenged, needing to have challenges, right? The Paralympics fills that bill. I'll name a few Canadians here. Brian McKeever, he is a top visually impaired skier in the world. Aaron Latimer, para-alpine skiing. Mac Marcoux, para-alpine skiing as well. Michelle Salt, para-snowboarding. Greg Westlake, para-ice skating, ice hockey, sorry. So this is another thing that, that why it proves the importance of sport. When people who we sometimes underestimate the need for challenges that some people have because we think, oh, well, they don't want to challenge them. Well, you know what? I'm not going to put words in people's heads. I'm just going to say that it's nice that people who are, who have a place to compete and don't have to have all the faculties and all the abilities, they're able-bodied in their own way. And that's the beauty of it. They prove how able-bodied they are, right? It's just, they're just challenged. They're not unable to do things.
No, they just have to do things a little bit differently.
Yep.
It's basically what it boils down to.
We're up to soccer and women's soccer. Christine St. Clair. What can you say about her? Kadisha Buchanan. Canada captures World Championship gold for the first time since 2012 in Calgary. We talked about it. Fantastic is a good word. We can use it here. Awesome is another.
Hey, any chance I get to use those words, man, it's absolutely. And I didn't say it this time.
Fantastic. World Cup hope, Olympics dashed. Oh, well, in men's soccer, but it's looking good with players like, as we mentioned earlier, Alphonso Davies, Jonathan David, Atiba Hutchiston, Junior Hoylett, Jonathan Osario. We watched Toronto FC win a championship a couple of years ago. The Vancouver Whitecaps and CF Montreal are playing fairly well. But I think the big thing that soccer in Canada can talk about is the Canadian Professional League, the CPL. They're growing leaps and bounds, and their teams are so competitive, they're causing losses to teams like Vancouver, forcing them to, or making them think they should change their coach.
I mean, it's really nice to see when a grassroots league and a smaller league like the Canadian Premier League can take major league soccer to the edge like that. And the fact of the matter is there's some great teams that play in and around the Toronto area. Obviously, there isn't one in Toronto proper, because that's TFC's territory. But right. There is the York Nine, which play out of York University, and the Hamilton Forge, which play out of Tim Hortons Field in Hamilton. And they've been putting themselves on the map, I think, and making a little bit of noise, which is a good thing. It forces other teams to try to be better.
Well, what it does is it creates a place for players to play organized soccer. And when I say organized, I don't mean just in a gym, you show up and then you make team. I'm talking about a standard that is, they refer to themselves as a professional soccer league, and they are professional. And if there's any doubt, check out the results when they play teams in MLS. So they've proven their salt, they've proven they belong, and they have a fan base that really appreciates them. I know that for a fact. Pugilism in the past: George St. Pierre, George Chavallo, another George, Lennox Lewis. I can go on and on. Pugilism, UFC is where George St. Pierre, former Canadian professional mixed martial artist and actor, he's widely regarded as one of the greatest fighters in mixed martial arts. And he was dominant. And the fans that he had behind him.
It's one of those streaks and records that he had in UFC that opened the world's eyes to the fact that Canada isn't all lumberjacks and curlers.
Yeah, no kidding. Or hockey players.
Can do other things. Not only that, Georges St. Pierre has turned his UFC career also now into a movie and television career. He's actually
That's right.
appeared as the villain Batroc the Leaper for The Falcon and the Winter Soldier and a couple of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. So there's that crossover appeal there. You mentioned George Chuvalo, correct? The only man
Yep.
to take Muhammad Ali the distance.
Yep.
So
one of the greatest moments in boxing history. It wasn't a win, but it was.
Exactly, because he didn't fall down, so that's
Yeah, he had a tough chin. Let me tell you, I was there for the 25th anniversary of that fight. I met Muhammad Ali because of it. Awesome moment for me. I've always been he is actually my favorite athlete of all time. When you consider the bravery which he showed in sacrificing career, finance, and freedom to make a point. So awesome guy. Awesome. You could say he's fantastic. Olivier Aubin-Mercier, Misha Cirkunov, Antonio Carvalho, Mitch Clark. These are some of the people you can check out in boxing. Alexander Teslenko, someone that is proficient at, and someone that you can follow as a Canadian. Carling Bassett Seguso. Guess what? I'm talking about tennis. Daniel Nestor. Tennis has been a sport in Canada which has been loved, has been supported, and usually other country people. Men's and women always supported, and Rogers has been a big proponent of that event. I know it's a name you don't like using, but they've made some money and they've made some good name for themselves by supporting the Open here in Canada. Leila Annie Fernandez, where are we at now? Is she still alive in that game?
The match is unfortunately over. It concluded approximately 7 minutes ago. So the final in that is she lost to Emma Raducanu 6-4, 6-3.
I guess at this point we can mention that I guess Laval could not beat Toronto. Since she was born in Toronto, but she plays for Great Britain. Good for her. Felix Auger-Aliassime, he lost yesterday. Bianca Andreescu didn't quite make it. She's had some health concerns. Denis Shapovalov, remember, he's only mid-20s. I think he's like 24. Vasek Pospisil made it to the second round in the U.S. Open. Milos Raonic, he's had so much problem health-wise, physically, has been a big challenge for him. Your final comments on tennis?
My other thoughts are, people keep sleeping on Daniel Nestor, but he's still floating around out there too.
Yes. Well, he's doubles. Yep. Doubles his thing, right? That doesn't. Okay, so allow me a moment for nationalism, consideration for the plight of women in our world that makes them work harder for equal recognition, plain old overcoming the underdog role, and when we needed or did not see it coming. These are some of the greatest moments, and I'll give you a chance to pipe up and include ones that maybe I didn't. And these are kind of in my order. I'll call it my order. George Chuvalo pushes Muhammad Ali to a full 15 rounds. The bat flip. Jackie Robinson breaks the color barrier with the Montreal Royals. Steve Nash wins back-to-back NBA MVP awards. Jacques Villeneuve wins the 1997 F1 World Championship. Canada wins the very first Olympics gold for hockey. GSP, that's Georges St-Pierre, dominates in front of a record-breaking Canadian crowd at UFC 129. Christine Sinclair becomes international soccer's all-time leading goal scorer. Gretzky to Lemieux to clinch the 87 Canada Cup. Kawhi Leonard makes the shot. Vince Carter's dunk contest performance. Donovan Bailey becomes the world's fastest man. Penny Oleksiak becomes Canada's best ever summer Olympian. The Terry Fox Marathon of Hope. Joe Carter makes the Toronto Blue Jays back-to-back champions. The Toronto Raptors become NBA champions. Sidney Crosby's golden goal. Mike Weir wins the Masters. Bianca Andreescu wins the U.S. Open. Paul Henderson's 72 Summit Series winning goal. You got any to add or any comment?
About the only other sporting event where a Canadian team really shone that I can think of goes a ways back with the Toronto Rock playing the Rochester Nighthawks at Maple Leaf Gardens, one of the last professional sporting events played there, where Caleb Toth netted a goal with 1.1 seconds left to win it for the Toronto Rock. That is a huge one for me, obviously, but in the grand scheme of things, it's all part of the greater fabric that makes up some of Canada's greatest sporting moments. Not to mention the golden goal in Vancouver in 2010, which was the highlight, I think, and the culmination of something that had been decades in the making. So this is, Canada has been trending upwards, and it's been absolutely fantastic to see. Again, there's that word. Now that I'm aware of it, Frank, it's going to bug me.
Don't worry about it, man. It is, actually, there's a product you can buy. You can put it behind you if you want. It's called Fantastic. It's great for cleaning.
Yes, with a K for cleaning.
And maybe you should use it to clean that word out of your life. No, just kidding. Okay, unique challenges. This is something that I wanted to talk about as well, because, great moments in Canadian history aren't necessarily always a player playing in a professional league or in a professional event or a huge amateur event. Paul Henderson, a left winger, played 13 seasons in the National Hockey League for the Detroit Red Wings, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the Atlanta Flames. And for him, his hockey career was, I'll say, nondescript, right? Not highlight filled. But is there a hockey player that has, for people like me old enough to remember, but who was such a key component in what I will call one of the most important moments in hockey history, and that is he scored 3 goals to help Canada's team to win against the surprise 72 Russian squad.
No, that was.
He doesn't have any, he's not in the Hockey Hall of Fame, that kind of thing. I think that's that, but it's one of those things where that kind of thing falls in a crack.
No, and it's one of those moments that gets blown up to be one of the largest moments in Canadian sports history. Even
Absolutely.
if nothing else that Paul Henderson did outside of that will ever match that one goal. It's 34 seconds left in a game, and it's a deadlocked series that had been going for 27 days. Regardless of whether or not Henderson finished his career in the minors or, whatever, that moment becomes seminal to Canadian history because it's a demonstration of our grit, our drive, and our determination.
Absolutely. Another person that I would like to point out, this goes back to September 1954. A 16-year-old Marilyn Bell became the first person to swim across Lake Ontario. Now that there's nobody she's competing with, because what she did was something that is very nondescript. I mean, I shouldn't say nondescript, but it isn't something that every year there's a race to go. There might be, it just isn't well known. But something that she did wasn't done before at her age. That's something. It's special, right? It's something that we don't really see anymore. And I just wanted to mention something like that because there's no record book for that. There's memories, and of course there's the Guinness Book of Records, I guess. But I just wanted to mention her because what she did was amazing.
Oh, most definitely. That 32-mile swim from Youngstown, New York to Toronto pretty much galvanized the nation back in the 1950s. It was something I think that Canada needed, a touchstone, a cultural touchstone for us, if you will.
Yes.
Yes. Other people have attempted the crossing as well, but making it even longer. So there is something coming up. Hopefully that record will eventually be beaten, and that's something that's also quintessentially Canadian, is the fact that we're always striving for better.
Absolutely. Lou Marsh. Many of you know the name Lou Marsh, and you hear about the award. Do you know that he was a sprinter and coached and ran with Bobby Kerr and Tom Longboat? In football, he played quarterback for the Toronto Argonauts. Marsh also refereed professional wrestling and hockey. In sports writing, Marsh is known for his trademark daily column with pick and shovel. And, this guy did everything. And as I said at the top, he was a coach as well. Lou Marsh, an award named after him. I just wanted people to know why it is the Lou Marsh Award. And that in itself, to me is amazing, because there's no, I play for the Leafs. You know what I mean? It isn't like that. He did play for the Argonauts, but it was only a small part of everything else that he did.
No, and his service often gets overlooked, especially with the Canadian Expeditionary Force and the 180th Sportsman Battalion back in 1916. That frequently is something that gets overlooked. The other thing that I found amusing was there was a wrestling match that he was refereeing back in the early 1920s, and after 30 minutes of them showboating, he finally told them, "Hey guys, when are you actually going to get down to it?"
That's it, exactly. So when we talk about unique challenges, when we talk about, you were talking about touchstone in history, we talked a bit about the man in motion. The man in motion, great, proud of that, but pales in comparison, and I don't mean it in any kind of demeaning fashion, with Terry Fox, whose athletic feat has been immortalized in all our memories and in our hearts. That was one of the most heart-wrenching moments, that short span of time where he came into our life and surprised us with this thing, and he made us understand and know about cancer in a way that we didn't. His name is still used, events everywhere. The Terry Fox Run. It doesn't just happen in Toronto. It doesn't just happen even in Canada. It's something that, a message that he sent everybody, that we received, and we still, it's echoing through time.
Now, his accomplishment is one that I don't think will ever be met again. The awareness that he brought, as you mentioned, Frank, has helped broaden and provide additional inspiration, provided the impetus for more research, everything fantastic like that. And his marathon of hope is something that millions will participate in for decades to come.
Absolutely. And with, full of heart. And even though sometimes we talked about, well, you know what? I'm just going to leave it there. Terry Fox was a very special human being. We're proud of him, and I'm grateful to say that he was Canadian. But it brings to my mind, and doing this program is about health and fitness. In others, it seems to matter to us. Now, if only Canadians as a whole and inclusively would consider that their health and fitness is a priority. Working on our health alone, creates the kind of immunity we need, not only to survive, but proliferate. Seeing all these great athletes in our present, past, and of course the ones coming in the future, can be a motivation to succeed in making every Canadian healthier and a survivor to these troubling times. The better health you are, the bottom line, folks, the reality of it is, the healthier you are, the better chance you have of surviving COVID. And that's a fact. It's one we don't want to talk about. People, we use euphemisms to talk about how, if you're not 100% healthy, I understand there's ways that health abandons you, that you don't have the ability to have good health. But there are a lot of ways you can. And I hope we can all look at Terry Fox, athletes, and people in general who work really hard to be healthy, and use them as an inspiration. And that's why I'm glad we did this show, Aaron. And that's what it's all about. Canadians being healthy. That's what I'm applauding.
No, most definitely. And it's something, again, you don't think about until it's gone.
You're a practicer. you care about your health. You do name a couple of things. We got a few seconds. You're doing some things that inspire good health.
Well, I am participating in a lot of virtual walk challenges. That's where you go out and walk a certain set of distance in order to win prizes in form of virtual medals. I also will be playing hockey twice a week, starting in another couple of weeks on Mondays and Fridays, not to mention playing lacrosse on Thursdays. This is all part of trying to make sure that I am around to annoy my wife for many decades to come, because that's the end goal.
The annoying or the living?
Both.
Both. What's life if you can't annoy? Yeah, I can attest to your fantastic ability of annoying people. Well,
Thank
Aaron,
you, Frank, appreciate that.
Hey, my pleasure, and I do respect and love the fact that you care enough to take care of yourself, and more people should. So, Aaron, thanks for doing this program. It was awesome.
Hey, thank you, Frank.
We came up with an idea and we followed it through. A day late, but we did it.
But not $1 short.
Absolutely not. He's Aaron William Freeland. I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching Candid Frank Live, Aaron, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Today's Saturday. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For Candid Frank Live, other news, entertainment, and sports programming we offer, please check out SpanglishWorld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Ciao for now.
Did he fall asleep?
That's you're gonna make that. If anybody's watching, it'll go viral.
I'm trying not to blink. My eyes are drying out.
I'm gonna leave. I gotta go. Maybe he's too busy talking to my family. I'll go check. Hang on. I'll be right back. We're done. It's a good thing there wasn't a camera on him.
Uh-huh.
Well, listen, it was nice to be in here. Thanks, everybody.
Have a great afternoon, Frank. We'll see you Monday.
Yeah, you too, buddy. Bye. Yeah, ma, comment va?